It's Thursday on Daily Delivery. I am Michael Rand. Glad to be back for another day. Hope you guys are having a great day out there. A lot of you noticed, I am sure, we did not have a show yesterday. I had to take a sick day. I was not in good shape yesterday. Had been kind of feeling this virus Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, trying to kind of push through it in denial, like, it's not that bad. By Tuesday night, I was pretty sure, okay, it is that bad. It's not COVID, probably a flu or something. I'm a lot better today. I'm still not great, but I'm a lot better today. Kind of on the upswing. I was starting to get on the upswing yesterday by like late afternoon, early evening. I was like, okay, I think this is kind of on the way out. So feeling like I can work today, but man, Tuesday. A lot of Tuesday, even part of Monday, and let's be honest, Sunday wasn't great. So when you try to push through things too much, you kind of make it worse. Finally had to just say, you know what? Take a day off. Just take a full day off. The podcast can wait. Everything that I had planned for Wednesday show is just fine today, with one exception. And we'll just go from there. So sorry I missed you yesterday. We'll try to make up for it today. Really good show. Like I said, a lot of stuff to get to. Max Brosmer, Gophers quarterback, will join me here in just a few minutes to talk about his season, to talk about his journey to Minnesota. Appreciate Max hopping on with me. I interviewed him a couple days ago. We'll play that for you today. Randy Johnson, who covers Max Brosmer and the Gophers for the Star Tribune, will also join me to set up kind of what's at stake in these last two games for the Gophers, who are 6-4 right now. Had that 4-game winning streak snapped against Rutgers on Saturday, trying to get back on the right side of things. They have a bye this weekend, but then Penn State and Wisconsin to finish the regular season, and then, of course, bowl eligible after that. Chip Scoggins will hop on for a little bit, too, to talk high school football, a team that's using technology to gain an edge over their opponents. So great stuff from Chip on that one. Some Twin stuff at the end of the show. First, though, what did I miss? Did not anticipate when I took a day off that I'd be talking about two Timberwolves losses to the Blazers in one episode, but here we are. They got run the other night, just bad from start to finish against Portland in the first game of a back-to-back in Portland. All of the Mike Conley Jr. is the problem, folks, and I'm one of them. I didn't think he was the only problem, but I was saying Mike Conley Jr. was chief among their problems this season. Everybody's saying Mike Conley is the problem. Well, they got their wish. Conley rested in the second game of a back-to-back last night. Wolves still lose 106-98. They came out well. They were up 33-23 after the first quarter. You're like, okay, this is what it's supposed to look like. And then it all falls apart. Everybody who's like, play Rob Dillingham. Yeah, they played him for 9 minutes. It wasn't great. Play the other guys. Josh Minot got 4 minutes. Like, they didn't really expand the bench much, but then again, the bench didn't really give them a whole lot of reason to expand the bench further. So I think that's the Chris Finch conundrum right now is you want to give the new lineup, Julius Randle, Dante DiVincenzo, as many minutes with the 8 core players as possible to develop this chemistry earlier in the season. You also want to develop your other guys. There's not enough minutes to go around sometimes, so he's probably trying to finesse that. But this did feel like an opportunity to play some of those young guys more. Didn't really do that, but then again, the young guys weren't necessarily pounding down the door for more playing time with the way things were going in this game. So I get it, but the long story short is, hey, if you thought Conley was the only problem, Conley's not the only problem. They lost this game, even though he didn't play a single minute. Nickeil Alexander-Walker essentially took his point guard minutes. I mean, point guard is a problem right now. If Conley's not playing at a high level, your 2 point guards are an average of 28 years old. That's great. Not great that they are 37 and 19. That's a problem. You cannot have your 2 point guards be 37 and 19. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, for all his gifts, is not a true point guard. So this is going to be a problem all season long unless they are able to solve it in some other way, make an acquisition, something like that. So that's a spot to worry about, to think about if Conley does not improve, but it is not all on Mike Conley. They didn't make shots. That was probably the biggest thing in this game. Ant went 0 of 9. He's been papering over a lot of their problems by being red hot from three-point range. He was 0 for 9 in this game. That is not great. Their defensive intensity has not been great. Their chemistry, everything like that has not been great. And that's where I think, they're searching for answers. They're saying, I don't know what it is exactly. We got to get our fight going. Like Rudy Gobert had an astute observation basically saying like he feels they look right now like a team that was satisfied with making the NBA conference finals last season, happy about that, instead of a team that's upset about how last year finished, hungry to get back and get further than that. I get that. Maybe there's a little bit of that to that. I think there's some kind of complacency like, hey, we've arrived. Ant said something like that earlier this year, too. Like, we haven't done anything yet. We can't be satisfied or complacent with where we got. We're not just going to automatically get back there again this season. And that's probably something they have to realize while also incorporating 2 key players and 1 massive subtraction from their lineup in Karl-Anthony Towns, who, oh, by the way, scored 46 points for the Knicks last night, who, oh, by the way, also lost to the Bulls by 1 point. They're 5-6. The Wolves are 6-6. Wolves are finding out how much they relied on Towns as kind of that 1A scoring option to relieve the pressure on Anthony Edwards. They just don't have that. They don't have that great 1A. Randall can be a 2 a lot of times. I think he's got that in him, but he's got a much different style than Towns does. He can't just go and always get you a bucket. So they're realizing what they're missing, I think, right now in Karl-Anthony Towns. The Knicks are also realizing what they gain in Towns, but also what they're missing in Towns, which is, as a 5, which he is in New York, he is not a good defender. When he has to be your primary 5, your rim protector, you are going to give up a lot of points, and they gave up 124 to the Bulls last night. So I think both teams realizing the benefits and the drawbacks of this trade right now, more the drawbacks right now, I think, in a lot of cases. So not helping either team right now. I think the biggest thing, though, the NBA, more than any other league, I think, thrives on chemistry and vibes, right? It's kind of a nebulous, intangible kind of term. The Wolves don't have chemistry right now. They haven't been playing together long enough. They don't look like they have that kind of cohesiveness that you need to be a great team. They don't have good vibes right now. You can't feel them having fun out there right now. They don't have that same energy they had last season. Whatever it was they captured last year in that second year of having that group together, they don't have it right now in kind of this reconfigured lineup. This feels a lot like it was 2 years ago. This feels a lot like it was in 2017-18 where they, got to 47 wins with Tibbs, but just weren't all that happy about it. Like, right now, it's just not great. The vibes are not great. The chemistry's not good. We're only 12 games in, so you got to give them a little time to sort this out. But again, right now, not great. 3 losses in a row. That heartbreaker to the Heat that got this thing started. 2 bad ones to a bad Portland team missing a bunch of players. And now the schedule's going to get tougher. So we will see where this leads, but they need to play better if they are going to be a serious team this year. Quickly, Wolves not the only team to struggle basketball-wise. Gophers lost to North Texas at Williams Arena last night. Gophers shorthanded, got some injury woes, got some roster problems already from the transfer portal last year. That's a tough one. If you can't beat North Texas on your home court, and no disrespect to North Texas, I know they're probably better than their name brand would suggest, that is going to be a long, potentially long season for Ben Johnson's team. North Texas beats the Gophers 54-51. That is a troubling development at Williams Arena. It led right into that Wolves loss to Portland. Not a great night of basketball for anybody watching here. It's just tough. It's tough right now. Definitely more faith in the Wolves than the Gophers to turn this thing around this season. I don't know what's going to happen, but man, Ben Johnson's team does not have a lot of horses right now, does not have a lot of firepower to combat any team they're playing in this moment. Thrilled to have Gopher quarterback Max Brosmer on with me today. Max, how are you?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm good. Appreciate you taking a little time out of a busy day, although maybe not as busy as usual. Got a little bye week, second bye week of the year. It's unusual, right?
Yeah, it's new for me, for sure. It's nice to have a second week to chill for a few days.
I suppose kind of catch your breath a little bit. You've got a big one when you get back. Maybe we can start there before we get into some little more fun stuff. But Penn State's going to present certainly a challenge for you guys, just like everybody does. How are you starting to even think about preparing for that, even as you're kind of trying to get a little downtime after the game last week?
Yeah, the first thing is always to get the bodies nice and recovered for the team. It's a long season here in the Big Ten, and taking the amount of time necessary to get your body nice, feeling healthy and feeling ready to go is always the first important step. Getting mentally refreshed too. It's nice to take a step back for a day or two and refresh the mind and get ready to go again, and get back to preparation where we can use our extra days to prepare and again get our minds and bodies right for next week. We know every game in the Big Ten is physically and mentally taxing. The preparation is the name of the game, and the guys are excited and getting ready to go.
You mentioned every day in the Big Ten is a challenge. This is obviously your first year in the Big Ten. Is that what you expected, or what has the Big Ten been versus maybe what you could have imagined coming into it?
Definitely what I expected for sure. You look at the Big Ten as one of the power conferences, of the country, and if not one of the best, if not the best conference in the country. And every single week there's a new challenge that's being posed, whether it's defensively, with the personnel changes or the scheme changes, different coordinators, different head coaches that you're preparing for every single week. It makes playing the Big Ten a lot of fun too, where you get to challenge yourself and your team every single week in something new that you learn about yourself and learn about your team. But yeah, definitely for sure what I expected coming into here, and it only has increased in that light since I've gotten here, where you expect one thing, like it's going to be this big challenge every single week, but the way that it can change, the way the challenge changes, is interesting. It's fun to be a part of.
What have you then learned about yourself? You referenced that. What have you learned about yourself along the way?
Yeah, I think I've learned a lot of stuff about myself. I think it's always fun to see how your leadership changes when you meet new people, be a part of a new team, are a part of a new culture. And for me to be able to step outside of my comfort zone, where I was from previously, and challenge myself in new lights of leadership, it's definitely been a lot of fun. It's been challenging, every single day, but I love doing it. And then learning the type of player that I can be too. I think proving to myself and only myself that I am who I say I am, and I can be a part of this team, and playing with this team is something that I'll remember for the rest of my life. And this team specifically too, the people on this team have been absolutely amazing to play with, and be outside the facility with, and that's one of the things I'll definitely take away from being here.
That idea of believing in yourself, kind of betting on the fact that you are who you think you are, even if other people aren't seeing it right away. You're, not recruited by FBS schools coming out of high school. You go to New Hampshire, you do what you do there. You make the jump to here, and I'm sure there's people like, man, people don't do that very often. How's this going to go? What is it about you that makes you think that you can do that, which you have done?
Yeah, I think it's going back to betting on yourself. It's a matter of stacking days where you set goals and you set benchmarks, and I think, to be frank, most of the goals and the benchmarks that I've set in my life, I've demolished and I've conquered, and it's just because I think, number one, my parents have always instilled a work ethic in me that no matter what the circumstance is, you always push yourself to the max, and knowing that your best will be the best, and whether that's from someone who's coming from an FCS school or an FBS school, that mentality can get anyone anywhere if you keep that mentality. And that's what I live by is, I want to do my best every single day, whether that's in school, whether that's in the film room, whether that's on the field. And that's why I love being a part of a team, because you can push yourself to be your best, but it also challenges the rest of your teammates to do their best as well.
You've gotten into a few zones this year where you've kind of been unstoppable. And you generally had a really good season overall, but there's a few times where it's just been like, is anybody going to be able to stop him? And one of those times that I was watching you, I was like, man, Max Brosmer reminds me a little bit, now just bear with me, reminds me a little bit of a dialed in Aaron Rodgers. Now, just like, I'm sorry, like, I don't want to put that on you.
I appreciate that.
People are like, don't say that. Like, that's too big. But like that's what you remind me of sometimes when you were in a zone. What is it like to be in that zone? What do you think of the Rodgers comparison?
Yeah, honestly, you think about, one singular player being in the zone, I think it's easy to look at that, like that guy is the reason they're doing the things they're doing on offense. But then you look around at the rest of the offense and realize that, no one's making mistakes on those drives and those games. People are, near perfect in their execution of the play, not perfect technique or perfect form, but the execution of the play. And I, half of some of the throws that I make, where you could say that I'm in the zone, my receivers and my tight ends make unbelievable catches. I'm getting protected, well more than I probably should in the pocket, and the O-line's doing their job up front. And it also goes back to establishing the run game early, where we establish the run game and it makes the passing game a little easier. And so there's a lot of things that go into it when you talk about being in the zone, but it really is it's an accumulation of the team, executing to the best of their ability and making it possible for those plays to be made.
You do seem like a rhythm player, though, in some cases. Do you feel like that's accurate? Like when you're kind of feeling it, you kind of get into a rhythm?
I think it's important for any player to kind of get in that rhythm. I think to be defined as a rhythm player, that's something that I don't necessarily strive to be defined as a rhythm player.
Sure.
I think any player wants to be able to just click that switch and go. And sometimes it takes longer than others in certain situations and certain Saturdays. But sometimes, it clicks right away, and, the game plan clicks right away on the field. And those are the days that you can, see our team play at our best. And that's something that we challenge ourselves on a weekly basis is being our best and playing our best every single day, and not having a bad Saturday, of having, Saturdays that show the days that we stack throughout the week, and, using all the work we put in throughout the week to put our best effort on the field.
Now, I threw out Aaron Rodgers, but I'd like to ask you, like, is there a quarterback, or are there quarterbacks that you look at and you say, not necessarily I want to be that guy because you want to be Max Brosmer, but are there quarterbacks that you look at that you say, I can pick up things for my game that I want to do that they do?
Yeah, for sure. I think there's definitely a cool balance of guys that I watch. I love watching Jared Goff play. I think I like to put myself in his shoes a little bit, like, oh yeah, I would have made the same decision, or I like the way he's looking at the field, how he's moving the pocket. I like watching Matthew Stafford play a ton. I think he's super creative and really good with his eyes. I like watching Brock Purdy as well. I think he's kind of the underdog.
Yeah.
He's picked last in the draft, and he's a starting quarterback for the 49ers and doing a really good job there. And it's really cool to see that, where you kind of have a similar mentality of, kind of being pushed to the back burner for a while and, succeeding in the end. And so I think for the Brock Purdy situation, I love watching him play because I know where he has kind of come from for that piece.
Watch everything except for Goff's last game. That one wasn't. I can't believe he got picked 5 times. He was on such a.
It happens. It happens. It's football.
It is football. That's very quick. Last thing for you. I know you got to go. Just kind of a general question. Like, you've been here for a very short amount of time. Like, you've been acclimated. It's been less than a year. Like, what's this journey been like? And maybe what's a surprising thing that you just didn't know about Minnesota that's been cool to you?
To answer your first part of the question, I think the journey has been absolutely unbelievable. The first thing is, like, I'm not a city guy either. I'm not I don't love living in the city. I came from, Durham, New Hampshire, which is the middle of nowhere in New Hampshire, where the closest Chipotle is 25 minutes away. And believe it, we made that drive probably 3 or 4 times a week. So we spent probably just as much money on gas money as we did Chipotle burritos. And like here now, getting used to living in the city, it's been a fun adventure so far. And, be able to experience Big Ten football with a team that's as special as this team, it's been unbelievable. I've made friends here that I'll have for the rest of my life, and I've made them in a matter of 5 or 6 months. And then the second part of your question, remind me, you said
just anything surprise you about your trip here? Anything surprise you about Minnesota?
Yeah, so I didn't know much about, when we talk about the state of Minnesota, knowing about like the outdoors life here, which I'm a huge outdoors guy. I love the lake. I love being outside, and I got to experience that in the summer. New Hampshire had the coast where you could go to the ocean and an hour and a half drive to the lake, but here the closest lake is like 30 minutes away. So it was really nice to get away from the city when you could, and That surprised me how many people actually went to the lake here. And then you realize there's 10,000 lakes or something here where everyone's going there this summer. So I had a blast doing that this summer.
Two Big Ten games left, a bowl game left, and then that's it. What else do you want to do here?
Man, it's pretty crazy to think about too. I've been playing college football for almost 6 years now. It's my the last 3 games in college that I have. Only one guaranteed though, right? One game at a time. I would say when I think about leaving college in general, I want to make sure that I left my quarterback room, I left my facility, left my team in the best hands possible. And I think for me, developing the younger guys in the room has been a lot of fun. Teaching them what I've learned since I've been in college since 2019. And I feel it's been pretty cool because they've been very receptive and they've been listening to kind of my message about quarterback, but also about being a good teammate, a good leader in the facility. And that's been just as much fun as playing the actual game. Being able to do that on a daily basis. And I hope that, I've done my job and the fact that I showed my quarterback, showed my team what it looks like to work as hard as possible, to put as much time and effort as possible as you can to be the most prepared on the field. And, hopefully I've done that so far.
Max, it's been a pleasure. Best of luck the rest of this year and in the future. And we will talk to you again down the road.
Yeah. Thanks, Michael.
Many thanks to Max Brosmer for his time. Thanks to the Gopher football program as well. I really enjoyed sitting down with him. It was just, I hadn't really talked to him that much in a one-on-one setting. Found him really engaging. I thought his answers were really thoughtful. Just really enjoyed getting to talk to him a little bit more. So thank you, Max, and good luck to him the rest of the way. More Gopher football talk with Randy Johnson. Covers the Gophers, of course, for the Star Tribune. You were out in New Jersey last weekend, Randy. Not the trip the Gophers were hoping for. They came in with a 4-game winning streak. I believe Rutgers had a 4-game losing streak. We had all the pregame storylines. Ethan Kaliakmanis played pretty well. Gophers couldn't protect and just didn't make the plays. They lose 26-19. Disappointing, maybe not shocking in retrospect. It wasn't ever going to be an easy game, but one that I'm sure they felt like they could have won more often than not.
Yeah, I think the situation they've had all season, their consistency has just been lacking, and that was another example. Where they played very well at stretches and poorly at stretches. They get the lead in the second half with a nice opening drive in the third quarter, but you felt like they might have to pitch a shutout here, and they just weren't able to, and then they fumble at their own 12-yard line, and that really sets up Rutgers perfectly to take the lead, and then they get the safety on the sack in the end zone, and just that little stretch there just went terribly wrong for the Gophers.
Well, it's like I think I said, the protection broke down at times. It wasn't an issue the whole day, and it hasn't been an issue the whole season. But that is some of the inconsistency that I think I've seen with this team, is that sometimes they just don't protect at all, and sometimes they protect beautifully.
Yeah, the offensive line did not have a good day. They could not get the running game going much at all either. You can tell Darius Taylor is a little banged up. He's battling something, an ankle or something like that. It just seems like he didn't have the quickness and the push on his cuts and everything. So it's this bye week came at a good time for him, and they'll need to get better, get healthier on this in the next week.
How do you feel like they took this one? Because there was some personal stuff either way, not like taunting stuff like that, but you have the whole Kaliakmanis angle, things like that, the coaching angles, things like that. Like, did this one hit harder than other ones, or how do you think they took it?
I think they were disappointed, but I don't think it was a devastating loss per se. They obviously wanted to win. They wanted to help themselves in the bowl picture, things like that. I think it was probably a bit of an awkward situation seeing Ethan Kaliakmanis on the other side. I kind of wonder too, is did they avoided talking about the whole week, coaching staff on down. It's just like, did that play into their heads a little bit? Who knows? I mean, that's I'm not a psychologist by any means, but
you mentioned the bowl picture. Where do you think this leaves them now? 6-4. Obviously, they're bowl eligible. We'll get into the Penn State game in 2 weeks, and then they got Wisconsin after that. So opportunities still, but where do you think they stand right now?
Well, I think the good news for them was that you saw Indiana beat Michigan. So right now it still appears there's going to be 4 Big Ten teams in the college football playoff. So that moves everyone up a notch if it were there, say there were only 3. Had the Gophers won, they would have been sitting pretty well to get into one of the Florida Bowls, probably the Citrus. Looks like Iowa is targeted for the ReliaQuest because they were at the Citrus last year. Now maybe Illinois moves ahead of the Gophers for that one. Who knows? We have to see how the Gophers finish, obviously, in their last 2 with Penn State and Wisconsin. Right now, most of the projections have them either at the Duke's Mayo Bowl on January 3rd in Charlotte or the Music City Bowl in Nashville on the 30th. Basically, those aren't too bad options. If they would happen to lose their last 2, it'd probably tumble down a little bit. And, you'd be looking at possibly the Pinstripe or the Rate Bowl in Phoenix. Detroit would be in play. If there's enough teams that make bowls for the Big Ten, say both Michigan State and Rutgers get in, and the Gophers would, if they had a bad finish, you might see them in a non-Big Ten affiliated bowl, like say the Armed Forces Bowl in Fort Worth, Texas, something like that. It just really depends on what they do the rest of the way.
And obviously, they still have a chance to control that destiny, but it's not easy. I mean, Penn State is formidable foe, top 5 team in the country. They've played some close games, but this is still a team that's got, national championship aspirations, not just a good team.
Yeah, this is a stacked Penn State team. They they didn't get over that Ohio State hump that they've been trying to. So they've been talking about the fan base wants Franklin fired out there just because he hasn't beaten Ohio State and hasn't won those big games since 2016. That seems a little harsh, but their standards are pretty high there. I don't think they're unbeatable though. I could see the Gophers if they play a very, very consistent and probably play the best game of their season. They could give Penn State a run here at all. I'm not going to go ahead and predict 2019 all over again, but there are ways to beat them.
And then after that, they got to go to Wisconsin. Wisconsin not having a great year, certainly by their standards. So that's not a game where you have to necessarily fear it. You got to worry about it because it's still Wisconsin. It's still on the road. But the chances of winning one of these 2 feels at least decent, right?
I would think so. I think the Gophers are good enough not to finish on a 3-game skid. That would really mar all that good work they did on the 4-game winning streak. I would say they need to win at least one of these 2. Somehow they can get both. Hey, then you have a lot better shine in the season.
All right, Randy. Well, no game this week. Get yourself a little bit of rest, just like the rest of the players, and we'll check on with you later, okay?
Sounds good, Mike.
Good stuff from Randy. Lots left to play for this season for the Gophers. I'd say 1 more win would make this a successful season. 2 more would be huge. Lose both of these games, that would be a sour note. You'd be losing your last 3 to end the season, going into a bowl game that maybe isn't the best. So a lot to play for, a lot still at stake for the Gophers at the end of this season.
Watch your dreams and savings grow with Royal Credit Union's 4.25% annual percentage yield 12-month certificate. Open now at any Royal office or online at rcu.org/certificate saver. Early withdrawal penalties could reduce earnings and principal. APY accurate as of 2/1/25. Insured by NCUA.
It's football across Minnesota time. Michael Rand here. Chip Scoggins, Star Tribune columnist, with me as usual. Chip, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How you doing, Mikey?
I'm pretty good. I'm shaking off a little virus from the weekend. I was not feeling good on Sunday, but feeling a little bit better today. Kind of playing through. We're playing through it. We'll be all right. You've been busy as usual. You got another, like I said, edition of Football Across Minnesota out. This one about technology helping a high school football team this season. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, Holy Angels. They're in Richfield, partnered with a company out of Edina called Human Powered Health.
Okay.
And I went and saw this. They in the weight room they have two look like weights or scales that you step on them to measure your weight. And they're called force plates. And each Monday the players would one by one, stand on the plate. They put their hands on their hips and they jump up, come down. They do it 3 times. And that their coach, Jim Gunderson, sits right next to it. He has an iPad has a cord connected to those plates. And that data was sent to Human Powered Health. And they analyzed it. They looked at, I think, force and height and all these different things, that probably different metrics. And they would analyze it and assess it and send it back to Coach Gunderson. And each player would have a color code, red, yellow, or green. They were red. That meant they need to have a stop, no practice. It could mean a potential injury. If it was yellow, it means monitor their reps, maybe scale back. Don't have them doing a full workload. Green's full to go. And so the coach was able to alter and adjust his practice schedules for each player based on what their color code was. And they said to both coaches and players, the team was much fresher this season. They had fewer soft tissue injuries. And so he was able to kind of maximize his team. They lost in the quarterfinals, the Class 4A quarterfinals this past Thursday night. Part of that's it doesn't prevent injuries in terms of, the guy gets sick, which they had a quarterback get sick, and an illness or like a ankle sprain or an ACL. Sure. It doesn't prevent that, but it gave him data and metrics to say, you know what, this guy who's been playing both ways is a little tired this week. Let's not have him practice on Tuesday or not have him practice on Wednesday. Let's have him have mental reps. So they were able to monitor and individualize the workload of their players. And the coach said it helped him tremendously in terms of understanding his team, understanding what guys need, scaling back, and it helped them stay fresh and stronger as the year went on versus, everybody's practicing, or hopefully if a guy was injured, this helped them identify that or limit a potential soft tissue injury. So really cool, interesting thing that I talked to one of their players who plays both ways, and he said the stamina and endurance he felt in his legs this year felt different. He was a two-way player, defensive back and wide receiver, and he said he just felt like he was a fresher football player because he might get certain days throughout the year off if he was in that yellow.
Interesting. I mean, imagine like just NFL teams or college teams that are using similar type stuff, but that this doesn't usually trickle down to a high school team.
That's what it is. Yeah, it's obviously college and pros have these different systems and a way to monitor workload and things, exertion. I think we're starting to see it at the high school level now. And I just think, thankfully, football in general, our attitudes have changed in terms of practice. There's not tackling, there's not two-a-days, you're not, having kids grind physically all week in practice. I think our attitudes and what we understand about performance science is far different now than it was 10 years ago even. So Coach Gunderson was telling me that when he played high school football, he never really felt fresh because that was just the mentality that we had with football. And so there's just a much higher understanding of rest, recovery, being smart about the way you practice, and this is just another tool that they use to help them throughout the season.
That's cool. I mean, the Vikings definitely do that. They're very big into rest, recovery, not going too hard. You'll see guys, especially the veterans, get days off in the middle of the year. Yeah. Like, you see did not practice, but healthy, but just giving them a day or two off just to kind of recover a little bit better. And, they've been able to stay relatively healthy. Again, like you said, it's not going to stop you from, the injuries that happen in sports, that those are going to happen, but
contact injuries,
but if you can prevent some of those soft tissue injuries, the pulls, the strains, things like that might be from overuse, that's a big deal, because like Bud Grant said, a lot of it's about being on the field, right?
Absolutely. Well, that's what the coach had a great quote about. He would rather have a healthy untrained athlete, and by untrained he's meaning has all these practice reps versus an unhealthy overtrained athlete.
Absolutely.
You're going to be better in your performance.
Interesting story. I'll be sure to check that out. Quickly, game balls this week. Who do we got?
A lot of really good performances this week, but here's 3. Matt Jung, Bethel defensive back. It's cool when you get 1 pick six right in a game. Matt had 2 pick sixes. Wow. Yeah, 31 and 32 yards. He also had 9 tackles, including 1.5 tackles for loss, and in a win versus Concordia. Moorhead, huge performance for him. Jack Curtis, the Carleton quarterback. How about these numbers? 28 for 39, career high 469 yards, 7 touchdown passes versus Gustavus. Huge performance for Jack. And then how do you not give one to Parker Romo, the Vikings new kicker? Shows up midweek in a field goal game. They don't score touchdowns, but he's perfect on all 4 of his field goals with his new team and new operation. They had to have every one of them, so Parker Romo.
I was going to say, can Sam Darnold go watch the Gustavus practice and see how you get the ball in the end zone?
That's a cheap shot.
It is a cheap shot. I said it, not you. Good stuff as always, Chip. Good stuff as always. We'll talk again next week.
Appreciate it, bro.
Thanks again to Chip. Love all these visits we've had this year. Go check out his Football Across Minnesota column. Only a few more left in the year before we're done with that, but appreciate his time every week and the effort he puts into that Football Across Minnesota feature. You should go read that at startribune.com. Let us finish with the cooler quickly. The Twins had a major shakeup the other day as well. I would have talked about this on Wednesday's show, talking about it today now. Derek Falvey taking over as Twins president of business and baseball operations. Dave St. Peter, longtime Twins president, moving into an advisory role. Jeremy Zoll is the new general manager of the Twins. Lavelle Eniel III and I will talk a lot more about this on Friday's show. For right now, just want to give a shout-out to Dave St. Peter. He's always been really good to me. He's been on this show multiple times before. I teach a class adjunct at the University of Minnesota. He's been a frequent guest almost every year that I've taught that class. Dave has graciously given his time to be in that class. Fellow North Dakotan, shout out to that. He loves University of North Dakota hockey. I grew up with University of North Dakota hockey, so we have a lot to talk about all the time. Dave's a great guy. He's done great work with the Twins. Will continue to do so in an advisory role, but just appreciating all he has done in his career and how good he has been to me and to this show. So appreciate it, Dave. Best of luck in the future ventures. That will do it for me today. Like I said, Lavelle Eniel III and I will talk tomorrow. We'll do our daily delivery debate segment. Until then, I am Michael Rand, back at it again on Friday.